Tuesday, I was a guest on 1380 WAOK with Wandalyn Stokes, and it was a great show. It was powerful, it was engaging, and we had several passionate listeners who called in and participated in the conversation and continuing this conversation about Ahmaud Arbery and about the state of affairs, where we are in our society today. So this discussion is going to be ongoing. We are going to continue this conversation. We are going to figure out what we can do as a community, as one, together, because I wonder if many of you are in the position or have been in the position I've been in the past, when things happen and you want to do something, but you're not sure what to do. So we had so many suggestions on last Thursday's show, which led to me going to Brunswick, Georgia, to be a part of the first protest on Ahmaud's birthday. And I am proud to say that I did something. I am proud to say that these conversations contribute to the cause. And whatever you can do, small, large, it is something. We need to continue the awareness, the conversation, so that we can make progress. Good morning, Tony. Thank you so much for joining. So I just want to, like I said, continue the conversation. I am excited about what is happening and the direction that we are headed as a society, because we're being forced to face, acknowledge, have conversation, which will lead to change. So I was on the show with Wandalyn Stokes. We had several listeners. I could not air the entire interview. I will air the last 8 minutes if I have time today. If not, I'll just post it and allow for you to listen to it when you have some time to just listen to the last part of the conversation with Wandalyn on 1380 WAOK on Tuesday, because we had a really passionate caller and he really expressed some concerns I think many of us have in the community. So I would like to play that today. I'm going to get to some other things before I play the end of that interview with Wandalyn. So let me get to it. First, I want to and also, I want to invite you to listen to the first part of the conversation on Tuesday if you were not here on Tuesday. So good morning, Val. How are you all feeling about where we are, what's happening, the conversation, the interviews with the homeowner, Larry English? What are your sentiments? What are your thoughts about the homeowner coming out and availing himself to the scrutiny by Chris Cuomo in that interview? Hey, I want Larry English to be a witness. He is composed. He is articulate. He appears and presents as an honest, genuine man. A few words, but every word counted. I appreciate his demeanor and believe that it could help in the prosecution's presentation of the case. I think that Larry English would be a great witness to go towards the McMichaels trying to say that there was a burglary, that Ahmaud entered the home on several occasions before, and that they were pursuing a citizen's arrest. I think that Larry English will dismantle those arguments. He's a credible witness. I think he'll make for a credible witness. What do you all think? Did you all see it? I'd like to play a little bit of the interview. I'd like to hear your thoughts. it was a very powerful interview. Larry English seems to be a straight shooter and debunked a lot of the information that the McMichaels gave in their reports. So after the shooting, when the police investigated and questioned the McMichaels, the interview with Larry English contradicted much of the information that the McMichaels shared in their interviews or in that questioning after the shooting, which went to intent into their alleged citizen's arrest. So I'm going to see if this can play for you. I hope you all can hear me and see me okay. And let me know if you can hear this interview, because you know I always, what would Wait One Legal Minute be without technical difficulties? So I'm going to play it. If there are problems, just let me know in the comments. Let me know what's wrong and I'll try to fix it. But here we go. I'm going to try to play this interview. I have to share my screen. Well, let's do this. This is always fun. But let me know if you have been listening to these interviews and watching the different players. If you've been watching these different players, let me know what your thoughts are about the interviews, about the things that they're saying about Ahmaud, his past. I would like to hear your opinions. Let's see if we can get this on the screen. Well, we're having some technical difficulties, but what I'm going to do is include it in a link. And when you have an opportunity, if you haven't already, look at this interview. Let me know what you think about the interview with Larry English. Let me just tell you that he started out saying that he doesn't want the video misused or misinterpreted. He never filed any reports or made any calls on the day of the incident. The McMichaels stated Arbery had been seen on the video. He said, the homeowner, Mr. English, said that he never shared the interview with the McMichaels. There are no records. Chris Cuomo stated that there are no records of a string of burglaries. And the owner said that he was just told, he said it was secondhand information. He was told that about burglaries in January. And then Chris Cuomo said, well, did you know that the burglary in March, that was filed and that was alleged by the McMichaels? And he didn't know. And the owner did not know that. So I think that's a great point, because a month before the actual shooting, the McMichaels filed a report of a burglary. And I mean, it doesn't smell right, you know, and it's kind of, wait one legal minute here. Like, a month before you shoot someone and cite the reason for the shooting as a citizen's arrest is for burglary, and a month before you filed a report for burglary on a property where the owner had no knowledge of, but heard secondhand about burglaries in the neighborhood, it just doesn't add up. The homeowner also commented that he never reported an incident at his home, only about his boat. So apparently he was transporting his boat from Brunswick, I think, to his current home. And during the transport, there was, he was missing some fishing rods or some fishing equipment. Because he could not identify where during the transport that those items were stolen, he never made a report. So the story about items being stolen from Mr. English, or prior items being stolen from Mr. English, is not true. It was, good morning, Gretchen. I just have to stop sometimes and just thank people for participating and supporting, and I appreciate you. But he never made a report because he couldn't identify where during the transport those items were stolen. And I think that, again, goes to his credibility and his reliability as a witness. He is going to make a great witness. He has great recall. He chooses his words carefully. And so you trust him. You trust him because he does not overreach. He speaks to what he knows, and he distinguishes when he says, hey, I was not personally aware of it. Well, that's where it's going to end on the stand, because he can't even repeat what someone else said. So the last point that I made while I was listening to the interview is Chris. First of all, Chris Cuomo did a great job. Hats off to you. I loved the interview. I loved your questions and how you structured your questions to Larry English. It was very informative. But he ended, I think this was at the end of the video, he said, so you never, you don't have a reason to believe that Ahmaud Arbery was involved in that incident with the boat or with those missing items. And he said, no, I have no reason to believe that. And he made it very clear that he also did not have any reason to believe that Ahmaud stole anything from his home. He had no reason to believe that, no evidence of that, never made those communications to anyone. So now it just brings you to the question, it brings the question. If the McMichaels were making a citizen's arrest, were they making it on behalf of whom? And for the burglary of what? And how will the defense attorney craft an argument about them making a citizen's arrest for the burglary of an individual who says there was no burglary? Who were you acting on behalf? And there is where the intent is going to be difficult for the defense attorney to dismantle. How are they going to dismantle? And if there are any criminal attorneys on here, I normally have quite a few criminal attorneys on here. How are they going to defend against intent when the reason they will argue that they try to stop Ahmaud Arbery doesn't exist? It's non-existent. There was no burglary. There was no crime that was committed which would have justified a citizen's arrest. So I don't want to spend too much time with that. I'm going to include the interview with Chris Cuomo, Larry English, and actually Larry English's attorney was on the interview, but she allowed her client to speak freely. She didn't have much input. And Larry English, again, he had a great interview. I think he is going to make for a great witness in this case, if this case goes forward. I want to now circle back to something that we discussed on Tuesday's show with Wandalyn on 1380 WAOK. And again, if you didn't have a chance to join the conversation on Tuesday and listen to the live interview on 1380 WAOK, please look on my Facebook page. It is still, it will be posted. I'm going to play the second portion. It's about 8 minutes. If not at the end of this show, I'm going to just post it on the page so you can listen to the end, because we had a really passionate caller at the very end. But we had a state representative, Abel Mabel, and she guided us to give us updates on HB 426. If we can put the HB link here in my comments, I have an amazing staff that post everything that I need on these comments. So they're going to include HB 426 in the comments. What I want you all to do is to keep going onto the website. Reach out to your local reps, and their contact information is in this link. Contact them and let them know how you feel about HB 426. I'm going to include in my links the original statute. And if you can include that in the link now, Georgia, I mentioned on Tuesday that Georgia doesn't have a hate crime bill. I want to clarify that statement. Georgia has a statute which is now being revised, and it's going before the Senate on June 11th. And the revisions are going to be also included on this link. The current statute was very general. It mentions if anyone has some kind of prejudice or, great, thank you so much for including that, a prejudice or bias towards another, okay, that then whatever they are sentenced to would increase, and then it let you know what it would increase to. The current bill and the red line of that, and it's just wonderful to look at the changes that they have included, because they have broken the statute down to specify what the prejudice or racial bias includes and who is against. So it gives you more guidance as to, and instead of just a vague or ambiguous class of people, it really breaks it down. So I've included and I've identified it as a red line, so you can see exactly what changes are being proposed in 1710-17, okay? And so this will allow for courts to impose greater sentences if it can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there was an underlying motivator in committing the crime that is racially driven, or it was sexually driven, any kind of bias. But the wonderful changes in the statute really help guide and broaden who these crimes can be against. So please take a look at the changes. Reach out to your senator. If I could, here is 1710-17. That is the link for the red line version. Here is what is currently pending. And this will go before, and here's actually a clean version of 1710-17. And this will go back before the House on June 11th, or the June 11th session. So please get involved, share your comments and your opinions with your local representatives so that we can get this bill passed. Also, I'm going to include a link of where you can see who voted for this bill to pass and who did not. Okay, it will tell you who voted yes, who voted no, who was excused. It will break it down. You can see a picture of the people who voted, their information, their phone numbers. Listen, let's be active, let's stay engaged, let's hold people accountable for protecting us. That's their jobs. So I don't know if you have you out there ever taken any kind of action in getting a bill passed and sharing your opinion with your local representatives? I know I haven't. I'm going to say I haven't. Have you? I want to know from you. Have you ever participated in the legislation that is passed or considered that protects you, protects your community, protects your children? Because like I said, I haven't. And I am going to change that. I will be reaching out to my local representatives so that I can ensure that my concerns and my needs are being met. I clicked on several names that voted no. I want you to do the same. I challenge you to click on and find out who voted no on this current bill, this proposed legislation, these revisions. Everyone that I clicked on was a Republican, Everyone that I clicked on who voted no, just to clarify, was a Republican. Everyone that I clicked on who voted yes was a Democrat. Doesn't matter black, white, it was mixed. But if the person was a Democrat, from what I clicked on, they voted yes to support the bill. If they were a Republican, they voted no. Look on there, see for yourself, contact your rep. There was someone in Marietta, Republican, voted no. Listen, if you don't say anything, they have no reason to be accountable for you. They have no, they don't know. They don't know that you're out there, you're watching them, and you're holding them accountable. So look on here. The link is included here. I'm going to show it on the screen now. 96 reps voted yes, sorry. 64 voted no. And you need to see who voted no. You need to see who doesn't want this hate crime defined more and adds another layer of protection for minorities and groups who traditionally have biases against them. You want to know why they are not, your reps, your local reps are not supporting this legislation. Take that off. So we have a lot of updates on here. I wanted to just make that legislation available to you now that I looked at the pending changes. And now let's see if I can have a portion of the last portion of the interview play. I'm going to pull it up and try to share my screen. And while I'm doing this, if you can let me know if you can hear me. You can hear the video. I would appreciate that because, again, I always have some kind of technical difficulty. So let's see if you can hear this video. I'm going to share my screen. So I just received a message that you can't hear anything. That was the end of the video, and I will just include it in my comments. I'm sorry for my technical difficulties once again, but I could hear the video just fine, but apparently you could not hear anything, I apologize for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the links for the Chris Cuomo interview, and I gave you the background of that interview, and I'm going to include the last part of my interview on 1380 WAOK. What you couldn't hear is a caller, Daryl Miller, and he was very passionate, frustrated, and just reached this tolerance level about prosecutors charging on a lesser charge instead of going for the felony murder or the felony charge in similar crimes. And I think that is what the conversation, part of the issue is. You know, you cannot, and I explain this. You have to be careful. You gotta, every case is different, okay? First of all, every case is different. The facts in the case, the situation, the witnesses you had, what you're able to prove and what you can't prove. And so a prosecutor, in their best judgment, is going to look at every case that comes before them and make a determination. Now, this is in theory, and this is the way it should work. They're going to take the case before them. They're not, hopefully not treating every case the same that involves a Black person and police shooting, or a person who is a civilian shooting, and treated the same. You can't, okay? And so if you overcharge, for instance, Daryl referred to a case with the police shooting where the female officer entered the Black man's home and shot him. Those cases are different, and you kind of have to treat them different when you have a police officer involved versus a civilian. So a prosecutor is going to take all the facts and evaluate them to determine what the appropriate charge would be based on what she can prove or he can prove to a jury. So in this case right now, it is felony murder, and it is aggravated assault, both of which involve intent. And we will see. So Daryl subsequently gave my office a call. We had more conversation. Daryl, I appreciate your support. I appreciate your conversation. It was definitely thoughtful. And I think that is the struggle for any prosecutor. You want to charge right. You know, you want to charge what you can prove and to the fullest extent, so that that person is going to get any jail time, and hopefully you prove you can get your conviction and gets the jail time that's appropriate for the crime that they've committed, that you've successfully proven and gotten a conviction for. So I'm going to include that link or that interview that had Mr. Miller, Reverend Miller. I think he's a reverend, and it was very passionate, and I appreciate your passion. I hope you're here on today. I appreciate you calling my office and speaking with me, and I appreciate your comments on me bringing this information on Facebook and on my live show. I just want to thank y'all for your support. Continue watching, continue sharing, and give me your comments. You can email your comments to me at wait1legalminute@gmail.com. You can put comments on here on the live show. You can inbox me. I just appreciate your support. I appreciate your comments, and I normally circle back to them if I don't get to you on the current live feed. So thank you so much. I am right under 30 minutes, and I had a long show on Tuesday. So I look forward to seeing you on next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Email me any suggestions that you have or anything that you want to talk about, and have a great weekend. Be safe. Stay at home. This is not over yet. I maintain, stay at home. Thank y'all. Have a good weekend.